Hey everyone, welcome back to Coxie Tutorials. Where we left off last time, we were still working on our pistol and we added a muzzle flash and also made it so that shell casings would come out of the gun when we actually shot it. We've still got other things that we're going to do, like reloading and animation on the gun and things like that, but today I thought we would actually do some work on the enemy and start setting it up so that we can actually use some of this guy's animations and have him go after the player and things like that, so that yeah, you've actually got something a bit more interesting to do in this level. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the Navmesh, which is Unity's built-in pathfinding. So to do that, we just go up here to Window, and if you come down here to Navigation, you'll get this Navigation tab up here. And basically, you have a few tabs up here which you can select. We'll get into these later on. We'll probably use some of the areas. You can actually define your own areas and make it so that the zombie will be more likely to take that path rather than just letting Unity decide what path that he's going to take to the player. The bake here, we're just going to leave everything as is for the first time, and you see you've got your radius, and that's just how far it's actually going to bake away from the walls. And the agent height, it tells you what all these do if you just hold your cursor over them anyway. The max slope 45, as you can see, it's an angle like that. That's the slope that the zombie can actually go up at the moment. The step height, so how far he can actually, or how high an object is that he can actually step over. You've got drop height, which is how far he can drop down, obviously. Jump distance, excuse me, which is how far he can jump. So we could actually make him jump across here if we wanted to. And in advanced here, we won't touch these. You can play with the actual voxel size of the Navmesh agent, which will make it more accurate if you lower this number, but it will take longer to bake. If you raise it higher, it'll be less accurate and will take less time to bake. And we can also generate a height mesh, so for things that are, you know, like high. Yeah, we'll just leave it like this. So just go ahead and just bake it like this for now. And the last tab here is just we can actually choose certain things that we want to bake on as well. So yeah, once you've baked, you should have this blue nav mesh. It shows you all the walkable areas for the zombie at the moment. So everything that's blue is where this zombie can go. Okay, so that's all we're going to need for now. As I said, we'll go into a lot more detail of this later on, but for now I'm going to keep it very simple. So once you've got your nav mesh, what we need now is we need to click on this zombie and we'll add an actual nav mesh agent, and you'll see you get this thing that looks like another collider, and we're just going to adjust this. I'll bring that down to just 1.6, and then I'll make the radius a bit smaller. It's actually this model's probably not the best. You can see that it's not really centered on him. It's just sort of how he's positioned. But yeah, we'll just work with this. If anyone's got a better model with more animations or one that they would like me to use for this tutorial series, just put a link in the comments and we'll work with that one instead. I can swap it out quite easily. But yeah, this zombie, it doesn't really have a great deal of animations that we're going to use. We've got a walk, we've got attack, and we'll probably use like the backfall for the death animation, but there's no idle animation, yeah, which is a bit weird. Usually you'd have an idle animation, but anyway, we'll just work with what we've got for now. So we have our Navmesh agent, and you can see we've got some settings here. We're going to use this for our speed. So the speed's set to 3.5, which is probably way too fast for a zombie. Set it to 1.5. The angular speed is how fast he can actually turn around and things like that. So I'll set that to the highest, and then the acceleration to about 15. The acceleration is how long it takes him to actually get to his top speed, and stopping distance is how far he'll stop away from whatever the target is that he's heading towards on the Navmesh agent. So I'll set that to 2. No, I'll set that to 1 because this Navmesh agent is set back a little bit. It's actually going to take the stopping distance from there. So yeah, we probably want him to be able to get close enough to the player so he can attack. And we'll just leave that for now. And we will add a script. An enemy AI script. Just open that up. Zoom that in a little bit. Okay, so we're going to actually need to get hold of the actual Navmesh itself. So you have to use namespace for this now, and just got to remember what it is. Okay, Visual Studio's been an asshole, so I'm just gonna get out of this for a second and go back into it. It should fix that issue hopefully. So using, here we go, Unity Engine dot AI, and we want Navmesh agent. Just call it agent. It's pretty standard. And then we actually want to define what this is. So agent equals get component. Navmesh agent. Okay, so we got access to our Navmesh now. And we also need a target. We could make this a public variable and then just drag and drop the player into this, but the issue with doing that is if we do that and just say we wanted to randomly spawn this enemy in a level, something like that, when he spawns in, generally if it's a prefab, if we had made it public and dragged the actual player in, when he spawns in, he won't actually have the player in the slot, so we probably have no target to actually go after. So we'll just do it as a private. So transform target, which is our player, and then in start we can just say target equals game object dot find game object with tag, and that will be player, and transform. So find the game object with the tag player, and we'll get its transform. So we better make sure, yeah, the player is not tagged. So make sure you go up to tag and tag it as player. Okay, so we have our agent and we know what our target's going to be. So what we might do, I'll just save that, and we'll come out and we'll actually I'll start setting up the animation. So yeah, just right click in here, go to create animator controller, and we'll call this zombie controller. Open this up, and now we're in Mecanim. So probably going to use any state. Definitely going to use entry. As I said, I wish we had more animations. I didn't really choose the best model, but anyway. So we'll use walk, and we'll also definitely use attack, and we'll also use the backfall for the death. And should we just transition straight to walk, or should we? So usually we would have idle first. So what I might do is just make an empty one. Empty state. And we'll right click on that and set that as default so that we start off just doing nothing basically. And you could put an idle animation in here if you want and just drag it. If you've got an idle animation, you can just drag it straight up into that slot there. So yeah, there's so many different ways that you can do this. We don't have many animations that we're going to use, so I'm just going to do it like really simply. But we could we need to make parameter for a start, and we could make a float, and then we could just say you know, if the speed was greater than 0 or greater than like 0.1, then we want to transition to walk, and if the speed was less than 0.1, we would go back to our idle or empty state. You could make a blend tree. There's just so many different ways. It doesn't really matter. We're just going to do a bool, and we'll just say is walking, and we'll also do another bool and just say is attacking, and we'll make a trigger is dead. Okay, we'll do it that easy. So from empty to walk, we want to transition. So you just right click on the actual state, and then yeah, just click on the state you want it to go to. So we've got a transition from that to walk. We probably want one from walk to attack, one back from attack to walk, and we'll just do one from this as well. Just okay, did not want to do that. Okay, so we probably don't need transition from all of them, but yeah, I'll just make sure it's going to work. So from empty to walk, we want to take off the exit time. The transition duration should be fine. Just is walking is true, and then just do the same but make it false. And then from walk to attack, take off exit time. Is attacking is true. And for this one, we'll say is walking is true again. So back to walk. And from attack, we'll do is attacking is false. And of course, for this one, we'll do is attacking is true. So that should be fine. And then from any state, we will just do our is dead. Okay, so really simple. Just set it up like that. That'll should be fine. We're going to need, hang on, let me have a look. Yeah, we don't have a controller in there, so drag your controller into the controller slot, and we're going to need to access this animator as well. So animator, anim, and then we can get hold of this really easy as well. Get component, animator, and we're good to go. So to start off with, we'll just get this actually up and running. So what I might do is we'll just do a float, and we'll call it distance, and that will just equal vector3 dot distance, and then it's asking us for a distance between a vector3a and a vector3b. So we want the distance between this enemy and also the target, which is going to be the player. So we just say transform dot position target dot position. Okay, so that's going to give us a distance between the enemy and the player. And then we can just say if distance is, say, greater than, what's our stopping distance? I think we said 1.5. Yeah, we'll try 1.5. We could make that a little bit higher maybe. We'll see. So it's greater than 1.5. Then we'll say agent. So the Navmesh agent that we've defined up here. And it has a built-in set destination. So the destination we want to go is a vector3 target, and we have a target. So that's the player target dot position. And if we are moving, because this is going to make us move, then we want to anim dot set bool. Make sure you spell this how you spelt it in the animator. So is walking would be true. We probably want to make sure that anim dot set bool is attacking to false. You've always got to make sure that you don't have like two true bools or something like that. Usually it's going to give you issues and the animations won't play out. So yeah, when you've got one true, everything else generally has to be false. So if distance, we've got 1.5. So we're going to move towards a player. We're going to play the walking animation. We're going to make sure we're not playing the attack animation. Else. So if the distance is not greater than 1.5, then we want to swap this around. Walking false. Attacking true. And there's a built-in agent dot. The best way probably, if you're just starting out coding, is to actually pay attention to things that come up. Like say I've typed in agent dot, because these are all the things that belong to the Navmesh agent, and there's like built-in functions and special things you can use. So see if I can find the one I want. Update position, and it says, basically said this is like a boolean. So this is basically going to stop the Navmesh from being able to move. So we'll set that to false because we don't want to be moving while we're playing our attack animation. So if I copy that and just make sure that when we start walking again, that's going to be true. It's probably not necessary to do that, but we'll see. We'll just do that because that's something handy to know as well if you ever want to stop the enemy with the Navmesh agent. Okay, so we've got that. Let's just, is that going to work? Yeah, that should work. let's just have a look and see what happens. Okay, so he's okay. He's only playing the animation once, so we need to go into the what is it? It's walking. So click on walking, and in the import settings, you can just loop the time and loop the pose and apply that. You can always see your animations here if you want. So that will keep looping it, and the loop pose will just make it smoother between each transition. So once it plays through the walking animation and then it goes to replay it, it'll just make that look a bit smoother. So that's probably good to have. And what's attack? Yeah, we'll loop the attack as well. So we can just repeatedly attack us. The fall we don't want to loop. Just want that to play once. We got errors. It's just a weird Unity error. Okay, that bloody blood is still coming out. Okay, so he walks towards us, and then once he gets to a certain distance, he gets too close. Okay. So, stopping distance, say 1.5. We'll say 2. Okay, so there we go. He gets close to us and he tries to attack us. And we move away and he will stop attacking and he will keep chasing us. So we move close. And yeah, he's the Navmesh, even though we've got his angular speed, he doesn't know any different. He's not going to turn and face us properly. He knows that he's within the distance, so he's just going to continually attack. So later on we'll actually we'll put some code in that makes him always rotate and face the player. So yeah. Okay, so that's done. What we'll also do is we better set up the death animation. So I had that set to 5 seconds. That should be normal. But yeah, the easiest way, since we've already got the animator and things in here, we can just make a public void and just call it enemy death anim, and we can just say anim dot set trigger is dead. So now what we can do is go into the enemy health, and because yeah, we have an enemy AI and our enemy health, so we can get hold of this well, the health script can access the enemy AI script quite easily. So we'll just say enemy AI, and then in start we can just say enemy AI equals get component enemy AI. So we're going to access this script and we're going to call that function. Make sure that you made it public or else you won't be able to access it. So enemy AI dot what was it? Enemy death anim. There you go. So we'll call that. Let's see what happens now. Okay, well of course it's just going to destroy him. So we'll make sure we have some kind of timer here before the game object gets destroyed. Okay, we shot him, and he's still going to chase us because we haven't told anything that we don't want him to keep chasing after us even when he's dead. It doesn't know any better. So to do that, we will just, we'll just make a bool and just say he's dead, and that is false. And then here, if the distance is greater than 2 and is not, he's dead, so he's not dead. And then when we call this function, we just say he is dead. That should solve that problem. Let's have a look. Okay, there you go. So he's dead. He's just going to lay there for 10 seconds and then he's just going to disappear. Okay. Alright, so that'll do for the very start of setting up our enemy. So he'll chase us now and he can die. Just make sure you save. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.